I love it.
Hold on, real quick, man. Hey, we're gonna jump into the pod, man. So, Stay the Course podcast. Me, Stanley.
Big Toe, what's going on, everybody? How we doing? Welcome in the building.
And before I even introduce this guy, I'm gonna say this right now. He's already stunned on us, man. Like he got the J going, and he got on the D Rose.
As soon as I said, yeah, my guy ready to go.
Hey, it's opening night, Chicago Bulls. I'm a huge Bulls fan, so every year, I see everybody else wear their Chiefs gear on the first home Chiefs game, opening night. So I'm like, hey, I'm gonna wear my team on opening night too. So I've always worn a Chicago Bulls jersey. I usually rotate between D Rose and MJ are the three, I've got two MJ jerseys and a D Rose. So
you a big Bulls guy?
yeah, that's my team. That's my NBA team.
Okay.
Even though we're always forever in the play-in game, but that is my team.
Where did Lonzo Ball get drafted? To the Bulls?
No, he got drafted to the Lakers.
To the Lakers, I'm tripping. But he played a significant.
Oh yeah, played for a couple of years, got hurt, had that weird injury, and then was kind of out for a long time, and then now with the Cavs.
So you may not have the love to like see him back playing now. Like it's not. Like,
yeah, I mean, I liked him when he played with us. I mean, I just wish he was healthy.
Yeah,
that was my only
like
thing.
one of them, like you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
I mean, my Rockets, we got KD now, so I'm a little,
Yeah.
you know what I'm saying? Took the champions to double overtime last night.
I'm not gonna say anything about it.
People don't believe. I'm a naive Houston Rockets fan. So I'm gonna believe we're gonna win a championship this year.
No, y'all look good outside the fact that y'all need
got
a point guard.
I don't know if Sengun's the point forward Sengun. I mean, I love Sengun, but I don't know if that is the answer. Reed Shepherd looked shook by the torture chamber. The torture chamber was.
Hey, I was gonna say Reed Shepherd. The moment pressure came on him, his default was, I'm gonna let this thing go.
Hey, shoot it, baby. Get you the ball. That's what we're here to do. No doubt.
Oh man.
So
goodness.
yeah, but Coach, how we feeling, man? Good to have you. Thanks for stopping by with us.
Yeah, I appreciate you guys. I've known you guys for a long time. I've known Stan for a long time. Obviously, once you kind of came on the scene and everything, we've known each other now for a couple of years too. So I was excited to do it and always love talking basketball. So. Yeah,
no, this is dope. And it's like I always tell people, it's like we in a community together. And even though we may not have the longest conversations, it's like we know we can. It's just like family almost.
Basketball fraternity. I've always said, there's a basketball fraternity within it. So you just know the people that bleed it and that love being around it. Just love talking shop. So I love those opportunities. So
yeah, no doubt. Well, I know you can't tell. It looked like we may be in a prison cell. No disrespect to the library. But we are on site at Ozark High School. We pulling up on site to our coaches, man, giving them their flowers, telling them how much we appreciate them. Obviously, to talk about the upcoming season, things about their career, how they get here, and all those good things. So, I know my man Stan got some good stuff to talk about.
And real quick, let's say now, since we are at Ozark, we did get a chance to get a sneak peek. We got a chance to go into the locker room. We got to see the refurnished locker room, where also they got the film room in there too. They got the big screen.
They got a TV as big as me, and that's hard to do. That's hard. I was impressed. That's hard to do.
Like, it looks nice in there. What they got the is it an Xbox in there, Coach?
Oh, yeah. Well, we went old school with the Xbox 360. We can't get on the school Wi-Fi with it, so I figured the old disc. Let them play the old March Madness 06 and let them learn a new trade. So,
dog, we're not gonna stay on this long, but that'd be so aggravating now. Because, we came from like PS1, PS2. You ain't have to worry about Wi-Fi. It's like nowadays.
You put the disc in and it's go. Yeah. And it's go. You get to play immediately. You don't have to download anything. Yeah. You don't gotta sync anything. You just put it in and play.
I'm cool with sometimes like NCAA. Like I'm cool with like I don't want it to go to my like leaderboard and all that. I just want to play. It's like you can't even play.
You gotta sync in. You gotta get the latest update, the software.
You gotta have Wi-Fi. Like you gotta have all these things, and if you don't, you can't even play just a quick game. You can't even play against your buddy without it. So
first world problems, doesn't
it? Right? Man.
First world problems.
Coach, man, let's get into it. Let's talk here. So let's ask you. So let's tell us about your coaching journey. Where have you been in your coaching journey, and then why Ozark?
Yeah, so played at Evangel for 4 years. Really where the story started. Coach Rippey, when he was the head assistant at Evangel, was the one who primarily recruited me in high school. And so we formed a great relationship. And I remember going on a visit senior year of high school, or not a visit, to watch him play at Central Methodist. That was close to my home. Wow. And after the game, Coach Rippey came up to me and goes, "Hey, I just want to let you know I won't be coaching here this year. I'm going to be at Kickapoo. My son's going to be there, all these things." And I was pretty hurt by that, mainly because I'm like, you've been my, biggest connection. I've built a great relationship with you. And now I'm not going to have that person, on staff. So anyways, he goes, well, hey, let's stay in contact. You know, it doesn't mean that our relationship has to end.
Yeah.
So he always did a great job of staying up with me, texting me, you know, just checking in with me, even when he wasn't coaching me. So when my 4 years ended of playing, and I had a year to student teach, had a year to still get through school, he texted me and goes, hey, we've got a volunteer positioning open with our freshman group, and Joel Brown is the one coaching that group. And I've known Joel since I was a junior high kid, and he obviously played at Evangel. He was our GA. And I'm like, what better way to get started? And obviously, even though I'm not from Springfield or Southwest Missouri, you know, I grew up in a basketball family, and everybody in the state knows Kickapoo. So when I found out or had the opportunity to coach, even if it was volunteer coaching, I'm like, I'm not going to pass up an opportunity to go coach at Kickapoo. And so that's what I did my first 2 years of coaching.
Wow.
Is I was a volunteer coach. And so I kind of helped out mainly with freshmen, but I was with, you know, a lot of those different groups, did a lot of different scouting for them throughout those times. And so then after that second year, I really needed to get a teaching job, and there wasn't anything available at Kickapoo. And I had just gotten engaged. I was getting married. I'm like, man, I can't do this for nothing. I can't be a para anymore.
Right.
Like, I've got a full-time teaching degree. I need to use it. And so there came a job open at Willard. And I've known Lamont Frazier since I was a little boy. So for 2 years, I worked with Coach Frazier, and he was very close with my dad. And so anyways, worked there for 2 years as a JV coach, taught history there. And then it was really weird. Again, I'm a big believer in like everything happens for a reason. And it was really weird, but Coach Rippey and Coach Frazier both went to Northwest Arkansas the same year. Coach Frazier went to Rogers. Coach Ripp went to Bentonville. And so it left that vacancy at Kickapoo. And when Mitch got that job at Kickapoo, he called me and he goes, hey, we got a history job and we got a JV job. And he goes, you want to come back? And so I go, dude, I would love nothing more than to come back and like actually be in the school, coach with you. Like, you know, he was, you know, a great teammate, somebody I love playing with. So to be able to kind of come back together and then coach together, you know, and here's the thing at the time too, Jordan Fielding was a freshman coach that year. And then
another EU alum as well. Yeah.
And then what ended up being our freshman assistant coach was the best man at my wedding, who also went to Evangel, didn't play basketball, but he was an elementary school teacher at Harrison and then was an assistant coach for Jordan. And so I had two guys I played with and was super close with. Our varsity assistant I coached with my first stint at Kickapoo, and then had the best man at my wedding as an assistant. And, you know, we were all at the time under the age of 30. And I'm like, man, this has got to be one of the coolest situations that you could be in as a young coach, to coach with people you love, coach with people that you really care about. You know, there's a lot of trust and loyalty. And so I stayed there with Mitch for 7 years. And, you know, applied for some head jobs throughout that time, and it just wasn't the right fit. I don't know, you know, there's a lot of things that go into that, you know, but I never really worried about that. I always told myself I love the job that I have. I love working with McHenry. I love, you know, the kids here. I love my teaching job at Kickapoo. So I wasn't worried or stressed when it came to not getting a head coaching job on my timeline. And I just always told myself, you know, the right opportunity will present itself. And when the Ozark job came open, you know, I still remember, you know, kind of going into that. And I just had this feeling. I told my wife, I said, I think this is it. I think I'm going to get this one. I said, I just have this feeling. I think I'm ready. Like I've proven myself. And you know, what was really weird in that process of going through the interview, you know, with, you know, the staff here, is the people that were in there got to see me coach more than any other coaches because of how much we played Ozark. We played Ozark 4 times that year on the JV level. So our athletic director, Coach Little, you know, that's one of the things he brought up to me. He goes, I got to watch you coach 4 different times and see how you acted, how you coached your kids and all those things. And again, like, I believe everything happens for a reason. And, you know, a lot of the other people on, you know, who got pulled in for interviews, he never got to see any of those guys coach live.
So he had a personal.
And so it was one of those things, and it was just, you know, I think that's a great thing for any young coach looking to move up the ladder is, you know, you never know who's watching. You know, every game is an opportunity to coach, you know, your guys, how you coach. And you just never know the impression you're going to make on somebody. And so, you know, was very blessed getting this job. I mean, they've been incredible. I mean, our facilities, you know, you talked about the locker room. I mean, they have done everything that, I could ever imagine in terms of support of our program and other programs. And it's just been a great fit and really enjoyed, getting to know people and building those relationships here at Ozark.
Saying, I don't know which way you want to go. We may get into this. That's the biggest thing that stuck out to me the most. And this may not be an answer you could question, but maybe you could talk about a little bit of that process. I remember, because obviously I knew you was on staff at Kickapoo for a long time. Just watching you coach, you can feel head coach off of you. You know what I'm saying? Like you can just feel it. You know what I'm saying? And so I'll never forget, it was a JV game at Nixa. I want to say the JV NIT, well, the JV tournament, whatever. Yeah. And I'm just sitting there. Wow, I'm like, dog, this dude is a head coach. Like,
well, it was probably dead quiet, and it was probably real loud. Yeah. That's usually the first thing people notice. So maybe that, I think that idea or like being a head coach or having that confidence of a head coach. Number one, my dad was a coach for a long time, and so getting to see that is one thing. And then I got to work for 3 great head coaches with Coach Rippey, Coach Frazier, and Coach McHenry. Mm-hmm. I mean, those are 3 incredible examples to get to learn from, and again, get confidence in who you are as a coach. And some of the best advice I ever got, and it's advice for life too, is like you got to be yourself, and you got to coach to your personality. And, I was a fiery player. I was very driven and like passionate. I wanted to play as hard as I could. Mm-hmm. And so as I kind of bridged to the coaching role, it's like, that's how I've got to coach. Mm-hmm. I'm not the type of coach that's going to sit and kind of, feel it out first. It's like, I'm going to be standing up and I'm going to be coaching you from the moment we tip it off to that last horn. I'm going to coach you. Yeah. I don't care what the situation is. I don't care if we're up, down, or indifferent. And there is a standard. I tell my kids all the time, I said, I do not, I tell them in practice, I tell them when we run, I said, I really half the time don't care what's on the scoreboard. Mm-hmm. There's a right way to play and there's a wrong way to play.
Mm-hmm. Yes, sir.
And that's the standard. Mm-hmm. And it should have nothing to do with the score ever, whether you're beating somebody up or whether you're getting beat up. The standard is the standard. Yeah. And so that's how I've always tried to take with my coaching is I'm going to coach my kids hard, and they know that, but they also know that I'm going to show up for them too, and that relationship's been built.
So, Coach, speaking of that, and this leads right where you're talking about, this is good here. So I first got the chance to coach you when I was at Nixa, when I was assistant coaching over there. And the thing that I remember about you, so I know, as far as you coach, I remember going to those games, seeing you with JV, you're coaching, doing the same thing. The thing that I remember about you coaching, get you on varsity, was this right here, is the fact that you knew every single one of our plays. You called out our plays and you were telling your guys on the side, hey, you guys, he's cutting down over here. Like, you're calling out all of our plays and you're telling all of our plays. And what I wanted to get to is, that was how I got introduced to you. It was like, man, this dude's sharp. He knows his stuff. Like, man, you can't go into the games BSing around because he's going to know exactly what you're doing at all times. What would you say is your best quality as a coach is?
So I think with any good coach, your work ethic has to be your best quality. As much as we ask of our kids, if you're not willing to put in that work, it's hard for your kids to then follow suit. And I think that goes with anything, whether you're being prepared for practice, whether it's the little details, I try to tell people this all the time, like, don't be too good for the little things, especially as an assistant or even as a head coach. It really doesn't matter. But I think so many people, like, you think you get this role, you get bumped up the ladder, and then all of a sudden you're too good to do team laundry, or you're too good to sweep the floor, or you're too good to do those little things that maybe go unnoticed. But I think that just all boils back to your work ethic and like what you're willing to do as a servant leader for your team. And if you showcase that, it's going to be easier for your kids to then buy into that. And that's something I've always prided myself on. I was never the most athletic player when we played. I was never the tallest. I sure as heck wasn't the strongest. But where I knew that I was going to make up ground was in my work ethic and attention to details. So I was always a big film guy. I was always big on knowing, I was never a very good on-ball defender. I won't talk about my playing days, but there was a day when we played William Jewell and there was a Division I transfer that was playing, and I had to guard him. And I remember telling Coach Jenkins, you have to take me out because I cannot guard this dude. Like, either put me on somebody else or I'm like, he is cooking me right now. Like, I cannot guard him. And it's not that I don't think I can't, but it's like, it is hurting our team because we're not adjusting. but I was a much better help defender. I could, because I could play tendencies and things like that. So that's where I really always hung my hat as a player. And then that's where I've tried to also make the most as coach. Like, I don't think I'm the smartest X's and O's coach. I don't necessarily think that, I'm the most motivating coach all the time. Like, I try to do those things. But I think what I can control is how hard I work. And, whether that's in, again, film, preparation for practice, the small details to set our guys up for success. And so that's really what I try to focus on. And like I tell our guys, I mean, that's what I can control, So if it means the floor needs to get swept, like, I'll go sweep it. If the laundry needs to get done, I'll do it. Like, I'm not too good for any of those things. And I think a lot of that too came through the grind of making my way from a volunteer assistant up to that head coaching role. Is you see how important those things are, and they become part of who you are. And so that I would say is probably my best quality, or at least something I try to, have daily.
Control what you can control.
Yeah.
I love that. Yeah.
Go ahead. What you gotta say, my dude?
Oh no, you go ahead with the next one.
The next one. All right. So here goes one for you, Coach. What do you look for in players in your program that play in your program? What is it something that you're looking for in players that you want to see from them? Any habits or anything you want to see them just perform at? Like, what are you looking for as a coach that play at Ozark, or just in general? Like, what are you looking for?
I think the biggest thing with anybody, especially if you're trying to play at the next level, or again, just if you're going to play in our program, like, number one, we talk a lot about being a great teammate. That's very important to us. If you cannot be a great teammate, I mean, we spend so much time together. I mean, we spend, when you get in season, they see us, like, our players and coaches are together more than they're with their families. If you can't be a great teammate, that season's going to be miserable. There's going to be a lot of rocky roads ahead. So that's something we really try to pinpoint early on in preseason, talk about a lot in the summer, obviously during the season as well. But, like, we want to be good teammates. We want to show up for each other. Because we do have a family dynamic. So that's something we talk about a lot within our program. I think the second thing is again, the small details, like those, we said it yesterday, we had conditioning and we're talking, and I said, the small details is what pays the bills. I mean, we all want the big dreams. We all want to score 20. We all want to do these things. But at the end of the day, the small details is what gets you noticed. It's what gets you wins, and ultimately allow you to be successful as a team. So we look for guys that buy into those things, and not just on the floor. We're big on tracking grades and how they're performing in the classroom. How are they acting in the lunchroom? How are you acting in the hallways? Because all those things align. How you do one thing is how you do all things. So I always tell them, if you're going to act a fool in the classroom, there's probably going to be moments in practice that you're going to act a fool for us, and that's not going to fly here. So I think just again, focusing on the process, being process-oriented, not worrying about things we can't control, and then just being consistent, like being an everyday guy. Are you showing up and giving your best every day? And we think if you do those things, everything else takes care of itself. The wins will come, the success will come, and that's what we're after. We're after, building up these kids to be better young adults in the community, and wins are great and success is great, but ultimately we want those kids after high school to be, successful individuals.
I want to ask you this now, because now it's starting to make sense. Because when I see the way you handle your organization, I can feel it's a high level of accountability, right? You're not going to let dudes slack. And you already talked about, we're not looking at the scoreboard. I can see you as a coach, you up by 40, right? And them dudes don't run a set right, and you call a timeout with like a minute left.
It's usually on the defensive end, like you're not jumping to the ball, you're not doing something little. Timeout, we're up 40. Why are you not jumping to the?
I feel like I've seen you. I feel like I've seen you do that.
Probably, I'm sure it's happened.
How did you get consistent in that lane? Was it? Wow. Talk about that process, because some people think it can happen overnight, right? To where everything I do, I make sure I hold myself accountable to the highest level. I'm not letting myself slack, but obviously the human natural ability, we want to be comfortable. So talk about that process of getting out of that comfort.
So I mean, and it's hard with high school kids today, because I mean a lot of things, and it's not. I try to tell our guys, it's not their fault, but when you think about all the distractions that are present for a high school kid now compared to like what we had, like, yeah, we had the internet, but you didn't have the amount of distractions that can take you away from your work like they do now. And that's difficult to manage sometimes. And again, it's not always the kid's fault just because there's so many, it's so vast. So I think one of the things is, again, going back to me is how are you carrying yourself and showing up to work every day? Like, are you the one, again, if you're showing your guys that, you're willing to sweep the floor, do the laundry, vacuum the locker room, doing those little things, showing up on time, and you're doing it every day, at some point, whether you like me or not, there does become a level of respect because I'm definitely not comparing myself to MJ, but in The Last Dance where they say, I'm never going to ask you to do something that I'm also not willing to do.
Yeah.
Yes, sir.
So it's not a dictator approach where you're going to do this out of fear. You're doing this because it's the standard that we've created.
I like that.
So to me, like, it's a daily thing. What are you holding kids accountable to in practice? Are you going to let it slide? Or are you going to call it when it happens? Because if you're going to let it slide, then it's going to fester and continue to be a problem. But if you have that accountability piece, it allows the kids to recognize he's not messing around. He's being honest.
Yeah.
And I'm not going to change until you change. Like, if you don't meet the standard, we're just going to keep on having a consequence until we figure it out. Like there is a right way to do it and there's a wrong way. I mean, it's pretty simple. And you know what? I tell our guys all the time because, again, like a lot of things I tell people, like if you watch me coach and you don't know me and you've never talked to me or anything, there's like, man, that dude's probably rough to be around. He's loud. He's constantly on his guys. But like I tell our guys, I said, the greatest form of love is accountability.
Come on, man.
I said,
Yes, sir.
I said, as much as we don't want to hear that, it's the greatest form of love because I care about you enough to fix something that is becoming a problem for you or it's not allowing you to be successful. By me appeasing you and not telling you what you need to hear, I'm doing you a disservice. It's actually the opposite of love. I'm pushing you in a direction of failure as opposed to I want you to succeed. And I think if people understood that part and understood like it's not me picking on a kid, it's not me whatever, but it's like, man, we spend so much time together and we have a standard that we're shooting for. And when we get to game, that's like your test time.
Yeah.
That's the time to, and so, that's just kind of part of being a coach sometimes is you got to be willing to have those tough conversations or, whatever, but that's part of loving somebody too. Love is not all seashells and balloons. Nope. Part of love is hard. I mean, Amen. I know you're married. I mean, love is hard. Yeah. And so I think people sometimes forget that, how difficult that is.
Would you see that as an old school style? Because I hear that what you said, you gonna either do this my way or it's gonna be no way.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Like a lot of people will be like, that's not the soft parent.
Yeah. Sure.
You should listen to them.
And that's the thing. Like I tell our guys, like, we have a certain way of doing things, whether it's concepts or whatever. But I always tell them, if you have a question or you want to talk through this, let's talk through it.
Okay.
I'm totally open to those moments and those conversations because that's where learning usually takes place is through those conversations. And like being a classroom teacher, I always said coaching is teaching, teaching is coaching, and so like in the classroom,
dropping jewels.
Some of the best ways to learn is through conversation and through questions and answers. And so to me, I'm cool with you asking a question or us talking through a situation. What I'm not cool with is you doing it incorrectly and then not asking a question or not asking why are we doing it this way or like what do I need to do better to meet the standard. And so I think as long as the kids understand and know where you stand and that, again, they know I'm not going to let certain things slide. Like there are there are things that we can negotiate and then there are non-negotiables.
Okay.
And to me, there is a difference between those two things.
I'm gonna pass the ball after this one, Stan.
Go ahead.
Go to the next.
Talk.
So how personal do you take it when you draw up a set and a guy goes right immediately out of timeout and don't do what you told him to do?
I hate.
I mean,
Like, do you chalk that up to him just being a teenager, or do you like?
Yeah.
How much of a man is like, dog? Are you really trying me right now?
So there's a couple different, and as a young coach, I sometimes, like, again, I'm fiery. I've got some passion in my belly at times, and allow that to sometimes maybe be too much in those moments. So Coach Brewer, one of our assistants, coached for a long time girls, boys, and was a phenomenal coach himself. But he told me he saw a clinic one time, and this is something I'm really going to try to take accountability with in our huddle this year.
Okay.
Is a coach at a clinic they had demonstrators, so it was not his kids. Brought him into a huddle, and they gave him a 30-second timeout. And the guy said, all right, out of the huddle, I want you to go down there. I want you to do 5 push-ups at the baseline. I want you to run to the 3-point line, do a defensive slide, and then I want you to clap all the way to half court. You got me? All right, ready, break, 30 seconds in. So anyways, the kids get out there. Well, they do the first part right. Well, then all of a sudden they're like, what's the second part? And then all of a sudden you didn't even get close to the third part because you couldn't even remember the second part. Yeah. And the coach's point with that was when you have a 30-second timeout, you better say what you need to say and keep it at 1 to 2 things max, because otherwise it's going to get lost in the shuffle. And so sometimes I think as coaches, we have this expectation, like when we were players, that we never messed those things up and we never had those moments, when in reality we did. And so I think having some grace in those moments and being better on our end as a coach is, am I doing a very good job of communicating? Because sometimes we think we're communicating at a high level and it's actually not. And then the kids get blamed for it or we get upset with them. So I think there are some things, if it's like over and over in a repeated pattern, then there needs to be some accountability with that player. But there are times when the moment gets the best of you. Maybe it was a lack of communication. Maybe there was a distraction. Maybe they're holding on to a last play and they're not thinking straight. Be a lot of things involved. So, I think as coaches, we can sometimes be better in those moments and have some grace. But at the same time, I think that's where you address those things needs to be more in the film session and discuss those things and get them more prepared in practice, as opposed to, I'm going to take it out on you in front of everybody right now. And we're all guilty of it as any coach, like I am too. It's just, I think, human nature to react that way at times. But yeah, that would kind of be my takeaway on that.
You old school coaches that think our new day coaches are soft, that's the new way firm coach being able to have self accountability. I think that's what I just got at.
And I think that's something too that I've learned, and really
no disrespect to your coach.
Where I learned it from more than probably anybody was Coach McHenry, of being, number one, being transparent and honest about your own mistakes. Because again, I think a lot of us don't. It's not that we don't want to. I think it's hard to take ownership for mistakes. For sure. And it's easy to blame your players. It's easy to blame the team, and you say, well, we did this a million times in practice, and then we get out in the game, we can't execute. It's the kid's fault. It's not my fault, whatever. But one thing I always appreciate about Coach McHenry and what I've really tried to take with me as a head coach is to be transparent and honest and take ownership as a coach when you do make mistakes. Yeah. And I think that's huge with gaining trust and that bond with your kids, because you're asking your kids to be vulnerable and take ownership.
Yep.
But we're not perfect either. I make mistakes daily coaching. Yeah. And so there's days where I go home and I feel bad about something I did. I'm like, man, I did that out of emotion. I did that out of, frustration. Yeah. And I'll come back the next day, whether it's an individual conversation I have with the kid or it's something I address with the whole team, and I say, that was not the right way to handle that. Man. And I don't want you acting like that in those situations, so I shouldn't either. I've got to set the standard. It starts with me.
Coach.
So, and I'll use an example of this. You guys may know, may not, but I lost my dad in the middle of basketball season last year.
Yes, sir.
And one of the toughest things I probably ever had to go through, and right around the blue and gold, I was coaching really angry, and he hadn't passed away yet, but we had been told that, he had 3 weeks to live, the day before the blue and gold started, day before Christmas. And that shook me because, you always think you have more time and all these things, and knowing that I was going to be busy with the tournament and not be able to be there and all these things. And, that time period, and really probably then, I was coaching really angry because of how I was feeling in my personal life. Wow. And that was then bleeding over into my professional life. And, one of the things I shared with our teams on multiple occasions, I said, that's not fair to you. It's not fair that you are getting the brunt of something you have nothing to do with. It's completely, a side panel in my life that's going on. And I need to be better of handling these emotions, as hard as it is, because that's part of it. And, our kids rallied around that with me, and I knew that they cared about me too. And, they're like, you don't need to say you're sorry. You don't, and they, but at the same time, I think those moments are huge for coaches. because it shows we're human too, and that we're not perfect. And I think if we can, show that to our kids as they become young men, they can hopefully take ownership and accountability to the things they do, even when they make mistakes, even when they're not at their best. And that's what we're trying to do, right? Like that's our goal of coaching. So
no, man, that's real. That was good. And you answered one of the questions I had. I was gonna ask about what did you learn while being on staff with Mitch? And it was a great answer with the transparency and stuff. That was really good. So I got something now. Get into a little basketball here now. So here we go.
Okay.
And you can jump in on this one too. So right now you have a rising player in your program, Kai, and I think is an absolute machine at scoring the basketball.
For sure.
How is it coaching someone that talented? And then the other part of the question is, around Southwest Missouri, man, we have so many talented players, man. Can you guys give me your top 5 players in the area as well after you answer that?
You gonna answer that?
I'll let Toe answer the top
Okay,
5. I'm gonna plead the 5th on the top 5. I'm gonna use my history background and plead the 5th on the top 5.
You gonna answer that?
But I will say this about our area, and this is one reason I never wanted to go back to Central Missouri.
This year.
Yeah. One reason I've never wanted to go back to Central Missouri is the level of coaching in this area and the level of play in this area. I mean, it is. Obviously, we don't have the metropolitan area that a KC or St. Louis has, but pound for pound, I really think that the level of play down here is such a high level, and not just at the Class 5 and 6. I mean, all levels. I mean, you've got some phenomenal coaches. You've got some fantastic players.
Yeah.
It's always a gauntlet, no matter what level, what district you're in. If you win a district, that is a special. You have earned your stripes.
I agree.
In those moments. To answer your question about Kai, again, I think everything happens for a reason in somebody's coach's career. In the 7 years I was at Kickapoo as a JV coach and assistant for the varsity, we got to coach so many high-level players at all different levels, like high-level players that are playing Division I, high-level players that killed it at the Division II level, high-level players that are making noise on the NAIA level. Like we had so many very varied levels of play with those kids, And I thought Mitch did a phenomenal job of managing all those egos and all those needs. Because, like, when you have that many good players, like, they always say there's not enough balls to go around when you got that many guys. But what he was always so good at is being able for those guys to play together in a way that was going to benefit each other's strengths. And what we always talked about is, there's not very many coaches. I always say this to kids who play AAU. There's not very many coaches in the back gym for the bronze bracket. The coaches are all in the gold and platinum brackets watching the guys who are winning. So if you really want to showcase your talents, to the next level, you need a win. And just because you have talent doesn't always compute to winning around here. There are good teams with less talent who win and get the job done. And, as I watched him coach those different players throughout those 7 years, I kind of learned how do I coach those really high-level players who want to play at the next level, who are motivated, who work at it. And again, I think it's no different than some of the other answers I've given you. And it's what I believe is you got to show up for them.
Still good.
Like you got to show up for them. If they need in the gym, hey, I'll go open the gym for you. You need to work out. Hey, can you do? You got to build that trust and relationship. And I think once you've done that and you have that buy-in, it's a lot easier to coach those types of players, and you have more give and take. I think when if you don't show up for a guy, or you are coaching them really hard because they're your best player, but then they really don't ever get that pat on the back. I think it sometimes puts a little rift in between you and your relationship. And that's hard to manage sometimes too, but I just think it's showing up for guys, and I would say that about any of my players, whether they had dreams of playing college or not. Like, I want to show up for you. Like, if you need something, I'm going to be there. That's kind of how I take that. And
I know that is a good answer, man.
Guys. Yeah, that's dope.
Man, Coach. So, actually, this, because you talked about Ozark and you talked about Southwest Missouri and the area. Outside of your own arena, of course, out here, what is one of the better atmospheres to play in? Or can you name a couple atmospheres out here? Like when you go to the gym, it's like it's electric. It's going to be fans there, the crowd's gonna be there, whether they're dressed up in construction gear or whether I've seen it all throughout all of Southwest Missouri. Like, what are some atmospheres that you love to go in as a coach? You're like, you know what? Win, lose, it don't matter. I just love being in this.
Yeah, I mean, obviously being in that Nixa-Kickapoo rivalry, you know, whether you're at Kickapoo or at Nixa for that game, that's always a rocking and rolling environment.
Yeah.
You know, I know Stratford has usually a great, I mean, I've never been to a game there, but I've seen a lot of game film like of those games. I mean, it's packed. Their student body is 10 rows deep. You know, their community supports their program so well. I'm trying to think, you know, Rogersville, I feel like has always had a really good base of kids that come out and support. I'm trying to think of some others. Parkview's had some. I mean, Parkview's always loud, man. Like they will just crank the volume on that speaker, and it's just loud. You're like brains rattled, and that's probably Coach Simpson's. Like, I mean, so here's what's crazy: how long I've been. My first 2 years that I told you I was coaching, that was Jack Simpson's junior and senior year of high school.
You're right.
Yeah. So I coached Jack and Tyson and Isaac Johnson and Nakai, like all those guys were there my very first 2 years. So I've known Coach Simpson for a long time, and he was always he's probably up there with one of the top kids I've ever coached in terms of just. I mean, talk about it every day, dude, and look at him as a coach. I mean, it's the same stuff.
Facts.
I mean, he is who he. When he talked about you got to coach to your personality. Hey, he has embodied that, and so I love Coach Simpson. He was always one of my favorites to coach, and he's one of my favorites to talk to and catch up with now too as a fellow head coach. So
I don't know what it is. That Parkview, it's just loud.
It's dark.
It's loud.
It's dark. It's like a dungeon. Like,
I know what you mean.
Which I was at that Parkview versus Ozark game at Parkview. Like,
that was a crazy game last year. That was a
good
crazy game. That was maybe the game that I enjoyed the most in terms of us getting a really big win, tough environment. We were down late, made some huge plays. Like I still remember there was a play, we got a deflection and the ball's dribbling towards our bench going to that baseline. And our point guard was tracked it down from like the opposite 3-point line. I mean, most people would have just said that's going to be their ball. He sprinted down there. As he started sprinting, another one of our guys trailed the play thinking, well, if he does get this, he ends up somehow saving it. And if you know that big baseline part, not on the opposite of the stage side, there's a ton of room. He was moving so fast, he went all the way to the wall.
That's crazy.
And I mean, it was like almost like a triple jump. Like he jumped inbounds, saved it, and like ended up at the wall, went right to that kid for a layup to put us up. And it was just a massive momentum shift. And that was probably a big one. I mean, we had so many close games last year. I mean, we had 2 really close games with Central. You know, we had Raj on the ropes. I mean, we had that.
I was here. I was at that game.
I mean, that was a good one. You know, we had several games where we were just right on the cusp of getting over that you know, kind of obstacle in our way, and just never found a way to get it done down the stretch. And all those teams were really good. They had a lot of experience. You know, they had coaches who'd been with them for years. So, you know, whereas it's kind of a, you know, pat on the back type thing, you know, like, hey, you did good, you competed, but it's like, man,
you don't like I don't
like to lose.
You don't like that.
I don't like the sympathy wins.
So on my side, I got my last question. I got a 2-part question because you're getting right onto it right there. So for Southwest Missouri and obviously for the Ozark fans, 2-part question is, man, can you please give us a reason why to come out and watch Ozark boys basketball this year, varsity as well? But then also the other part is this. Man, can you share with maybe one of your goals this year for the team? Because I know talking with other coaches, some people always say, man, you know, we really want to show up for the blue and gold. Like, I know that was a big staple when I was coaching at Knicks. It's like, man, like, we want to make sure we go and try to win the blue and gold just because, like, it's that Hall area there. It's a tournament. It's really big. So what is a goal for you this year? And then why should we come out and watch Ozark?
Yeah. So I think, you know, reason to come watch us play, you know, I think – number one, we're going to be a team that plays together. It'll be a fun brand of basketball. We're going to share it. We're going to move it. We're going to try to play fast, get up and down the floor a little bit. And then defensively, you know, I hope we took a step in terms of just being tougher defensively, playing hard-nosed, you know, and just playing for each other, you know, focused on the process. You know, again, our schedule, conference, district is a gauntlet. I mean, as anybody knows. You know, some people have called it the SEC of whatever, but it really is. I mean, you don't have a night off no matter who you play. There are so many good coaches, there are so many good players that, you could lose some close games to some really good teams, and then you could beat some really good teams, the same way. So I've really tried to push our guys to be process oriented. Don't worry about, we all want to win, but I don't want us to be so focused on the wins and losses with the schedule that we play that we forget about our improvement and our growth. Because at the end of the year, and I've told our other sports kids that I've been around this fall who are getting ready for districts, this is the best time of year for you all. This is what you've been preparing for. This is what you've been working for. All the other stuff gets wiped clean, essentially. Like it's 0-0.
No matter what.
So no matter what your record was, like no matter what happened, no matter how many tight games, big games, whatever, like it's 0-0. Yep. And so, I want our guys to buy in on the process. That's a goal for me. I felt like last year I had a lot of lofty, one of our goals was win conference, win district.
Yeah.
And then our third one was have a winning season.
Okay.
Now, I love shooting for the stars, whatever. And like in the first year, like you want your kids to think you can win and compete at that level. And I think that's fine. But I also think when you're so focused on something that is, goal oriented as opposed to the process, you lose sight of the day-to-day work. And so that's really, I've tried to talk less about conference championships, district championships, and focus more on did we get better today and are we improving like we need to? Because if we're doing that, if that continues over, I looked at the other day, I was building our practice schedule, and you're going to have 60 plus practices. You're double the amount of practice that you have regular season games over that.
Yeah.
So when you think about that, if you're not improving in practice, then what's the point? Like, what are you really what is the real goal? And so that's really the direction I'm trying to head this year. And not that I made a mistake by doing that last year, but that's kind of where I'm headed. And honestly, like a personal goal, and I told our guys this the other day, win a district game. Okay. We have not, Ozark has not won a district game, a first round district game, I think in 4 years.
Wow.
And it's been because, again, it's a gauntlet. Like last year we played Republic and they buzzsawed us. I mean, they were hungry. They had been beat in the first round several years, ran into Kickapoo, ran into, again, it's just like no matter who you play, you're going to play somebody really good.
Brindley Hague.
So and Brindley Hague was on a heater.
He was
like
tough
he
to run into last year.
and Coach Brown, they were a well-oiled machine with what they did.
Yeah.
And, we ran into a buzzsaw. The year before that, they lost to Nixa and a heartbreaker.
Yeah.
And a tough game here. Yeah, here on Nixa's undefeated year.
Stan was on that stand.
Yes, yeah. We won't talk about that, Stan. We won't talk about that year, okay? But anyways.
It seems to come up every single pod. I kid you not.
So I think the year before that, I don't know if it was Nixa or, the year before that would have been at the Joplin district, and they, I think, played Kickapoo in the first round.
Yep.
And that was Tyler Harmon and Watley's senior year, Ethan Watley's senior year.
Yeah.
And I think the year before that, I can't remember if they lost somebody. But anyways, it's been like 4 years since we've even won a district game. So to me, it's like I need to stop thinking less about district championships. Let's just worry about the first round.
Let's take
it one game at a time because, that first round's could potentially be just as tough as a district championship game. So I would say, again, being process-oriented, getting better each day, and then I would say for like a end of season goal or whatever is let's win one game in districts and see what happens.
I like.
So.
Yeah. I was trying to look it up for you, but I couldn't. 2 questions for me, and then we can get out of here. I want to know. I forgot the first one. I know the second one now. I guess your first one. I know we talk about Kickapoo. That's fine. But you was there for
a long time. Great
deal of it. What was your favorite year in them 7 at Kickapoo?
Oh man, that's hopefully not all those guys are going to listen to this. So each group has like a very special place in my heart. Obviously, our state championship year was incredibly special, especially coming off a year of COVID when we finally got over the hump of making the Final Four. We beat freaking Rockbridge and make it, and then 4 days before you're supposed to play, it gets canceled.
Yeah, that was tough.
Like, that was so hard for me, for those kids, that group of seniors that, it's giving me chills just right now because, like, those 2 years prior, like we ran into DeJuan Harris, Isaiah Mosley. I know you worked with Isaiah a lot. Jamonte, just a freak show team. Yeah. And finally, those guys are gone. We finally get over the hump and lose that. So like that team was really special to me because they were really a big part of setting the foundation for what happened to come. Obviously, the next year's team was incredibly special with the amount of talent we had. We win a state championship. Like, ever since I've been a little boy, that has been like my biggest dream is winning a state championship. Man. Like, I don't care what that looks like.
It was a beautiful moment.
And so, like, obviously that holds a special place in my heart. That group that followed them, the Braden Shorter, Zayd Lowry, Keisker, Edding, Harrison Dinnig, that senior group.
They made it to where? Where did y'all make it to?
So we lost to Nixa district championship at Joplin their junior year. That was the year after the state championship, and then beat Nixa their senior year, and then made it to the state championship game. Lost to Staley.
That's where it was. Staley. There it is. Yeah.
But like that group, I was around that group a ton. You know, like those guys grew up in our program. You know, I coached every single one of them on JV, including Zayd. Like every single one of those dudes played JV for me. They're such a special group, and they just were such hard. I mean, they were maybe one of the hardest working groups. But honestly, the group that probably had my heart more than anybody was the year after that. Drew Akins, Mason Robb, that group, they probably did more in terms of out of all the groups I've talked about, and this is no shot on them, and they know I love them, they were the least talented of all those groups that we talked about, and they got the most out of what they did. Wow. I mean, those dudes, they did not lose a game as freshmen. They lost one game on JV. Their junior year, they play in a state championship game. Yeah. And then senior year, when everybody thinks, well, Kickapoo has finally fell off, all the big college guys are gone, and we still win. I think we were 24-2, 25 and whatever. Upset Tolton with 2 Division I guards on their team. Yeah. I mean, beat teams that nobody thought we should even be in. I mean, and it was just a group. They loved each other. You know, what's crazy is I knew a lot of those kids since they were in 5th grade, 6th grade. So by the time they were seniors, man, like I was so happy for them. I mean, we lost to Central in that district championship game that year when they were really loaded. Yeah. But I mean, they had my heart. They were one of my favorite groups. But like I said, I loved all those kids. Like, I cherished those times that we had. Like, there's so many unseen hours that went into a lot of those successful moments. And, you know, it just made me a better coach, you know, and this is one thing I'll say about that state championship group. I've never seen a group of 16 to 18-year-old kids that focused and that locked in when we got to the final. I mean, they were locked in the whole state run, but like those practices leading up to Chaminade and Liberty, I don't know that I was even on a college team that was that laser focused. I mean, it was incredible to watch. I mean, it's almost like they didn't even need us there. Yeah. They were so bought in. They were so focused on what we needed to do. There was no funny business. There was no, we're happy we got to the Final Four. Yeah. It was business the whole way. And I tell a lot of people, like, in order to win that, you know, level of play, Class 6 against a Chaminade, against a Bennett Sturts, like, you gotta have your best stuff, and that was the most impressive. Like, people can say whatever they want about the talent. There's a lot of talented teams that don't finish it off.
That part.
And
us one year, I know that.
You know, I mean, it was just different. And I tell that to a lot of people. I'm like, I just have never been around a group top to bottom. I mean, it was everybody, top to bottom. It was locked in. So
that part.
Yeah, special.
Then my next one, you'll probably answer this one. You didn't ask in the Southwest Missouri top 5, but I want to know, out of them 7. Could you make an all-time starting 5 in that 7?
What do you mean? What?
Like, in them 7 years you was at Kickapoo.
Oh, like a starting 5 out of that group?
Give me a starting 5. Or out of all them 7 years you was there.
Okay, well, here's what I'm going to say. Here's what I'm going to say. They would be on that starting 5. I'm not going to include Trevin and Haney.
Okay, because they transferred.
Because they came in for 1 year.
Okay.
So I'm not gonna include them. I'm gonna keep it to the 4-year guys. And again, those 2 would be automatics. Like that's easy. I will make a top 7 of the guys that were there 4 years.
And give me guy off the bench. So give me your first guy off the bench.
First guy off the bench.
So give me that starting 5 and first guy off the bench.
Okay. So I'll start with point guard, Anton Brookshire. That's an easy one.
I was a given.
Shooting guard, Shorter.
Okay.
So, I mean, you can't go wrong with one of the best three-point shooters, period.
Okay.
Man, I would say in terms of, like, See, I would include Zayd on that too, but again, he left senior year, so he wasn't a 4-year guy. So I'm gonna Zayd would obviously probably be in there too.
Okay.
So I'm gonna keep it to the 4 years.
Okay.
I'm gonna keep it to the 4 years.
Okay.
Keep it consistent. So a big guy that kind of goes now. Does this also include my 2 years when I first started, or just the 7 years with Mitch?
Okay, yeah. So
boy.
you put all 9 in there then.
Yeah, go ahead.
Boy. Well, I might have to. So, man, oh man,
That's a good question,
I
bro.
might have to make a team of 10.
Oh,
I don't know. Okay, I'm gonna start this over. I'm gonna say Cam Davis as number one.
That is a good one. Yeah, that's
he
a good
was
one.
he was one of my all-time favorites. I got so many stories about that kid in the 2 years I was there. Still have a great still somebody I talked
Sharp,
to.
yes.
So I would say Cam. I would put Anton as the combo as the 2 guard. So
Okay.
I'll move.
Okay.
I'll move Anton to the 2. I'll put Shorter as the 3.
I think I know you're going with 4. I think I know.
Who do you think I'm going with 4? Tell me.
Easy one. You gonna put Ritter there?
yeah, we really.
Okay, Ritter. Okay, Ritter's got to be 4.
Who's the only 2
Yeah, Ritter's got to be 4.
Ritter, I was like,
Ritter's got to be 4.
Ritter that way.
5.
the big one. Maybe
Man.
tough.
Like obviously Trevin would be one if we
Yeah.
were counting him.
Or it can be positioned as however you want.
Yeah. Oh, okay. Okay.
Yeah,
so
however you
this
want.
is not necessarily NBA.
But you
also.
know, traditionally, they always had a.
They always had it.
Yeah.
So-
But it's okay. It's his list, but not mine.
Now this is Harrison Dinnig is one of my favorites.
Yeah.
He was the ultimate glue guy.
Yep.
Ultimate.
He did everything right. Position. He was never in the wrong spot.
Nope.
Always competed. He was never selfish. There was never ego. And he was a big part of why we won a lot of games in the 4 years he was there.
I agree.
And so to me, he probably wasn't our true center. He's probably more of a 4. And then 6-man, who would be that 6-man? I would say you could go, there's just too. Like, I'm not even talking about Jack or Tyson, and those 2 could very easily be in that mix.
real.
That's what I was waiting
So
on.
I don't know. Jack, I guess, is a 6-man, but
Okay.
he might fight somebody for that starting spot. So he wasn't the all-time games played guy for nothing. So
That's tough.
man, I mean, it's
I
a
didn't even know
tough.
that
It's
either.
tough to.
Man,
It's
that's a tough
to,
list to make.
It really is. There are so many good players, and even guys who maybe didn't get all the accolades that some of the others did, went on to have great college careers. I mean, went on to be very successful.
Yeah.
Maybe didn't get all the publicity, but man, I mean, there were so many guys that they love basketball. I mean, I think anybody, if you want to do something, I don't care if it's basketball or not, you better love what you do. And that was a big separator in my opinion. And that's why I love being there. I'm like, I always felt like it was a college atmosphere because every dude loved being there every day. There was not a day that you had to yank it out of them, pull it out of them, and that trickled down, those young guys when they'd come in, I still think of like Reese Kimmery when he came in as a freshman, and you're seeing guys like, Trey Edding, Braden Shorter. You have these guys who are, staying after practice for an hour and a half, just getting in a lather. And it's like you just went through practice for 2 hours going as hard as you could, and now you're in here working out on your own. And there's just a domino effect that takes place with that. And, that's one of the things I'm trying to, accomplish here is just, is that love and the passion for what you do. And eventually that's going to result in some successful moments. And so, there are so many guys that I could switch around, so I feel bad leaving anybody off that. But, there's a lot of dudes that led to the success of that 7 years or 9 years that total that was in that program. So, just very thankful that not everybody gets that. Not everybody gets that opportunity to be in that environment. And so, that's what I'm most blessed with and thankful for those moments. And it's allowed me as a head coach now to really cherish and be grateful for those moments because it just doesn't happen all the time.
That culture part you talk about is real though. Like those young guys being able to come in and see, like, because sometimes I was like Reese. He was a guy that had a lot of pub middle school coming to high school. He probably maybe smelling this stuff a little bit. You get to high school and it's like, okay, it's a little different over here, but these are how these guys work.
Yep.
I got to fall in line. You know what I'm saying? Or I'm going to get left behind.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
And one thing I'll add to that too, that I try to tell people all the time, Braden Shorter played freshman as a freshman, played JV as a sophomore.
Wow.
Zayd Lowry played freshman as a freshman.
Biggest one that I talk about.
JV as a sophomore, and then Zayd started just taking off like he did after the blue and gold. And he gave us no choice but to put him in the mix with our varsity guys. And he was a huge part of why that team won a state championship.
That his sophomore year, that's why I tell people like Zay was a JV guy sitting on varsity, like not even playing really.
Yeah.
And I remember that Ozark tournament, Cam Liggins was hurt.
Yep.
And he had y'all almost forced y'all had a tough battle with Ozark.
Yep.
You're here now.
Yeah, I know, right?
It was like literally, I think I was losing late that game. Yeah. And he came in, made some big plays in that Shabbat game. Like, you know what I'm saying?
And just never looked back.
Yeah.
And it was just, but I said that for so many kids, like there's nothing wrong with being a freshman playing freshman.
Nothing wrong.
I have never talked, my dad was a basketball recruiter for 20 plus years. I've talked to several college coaches. I've never had a college coach ask, did they play varsity as a freshman?
Thank you.
Did they play varsity as a sophomore? They want to know the finished product coming out as a senior.
Thank you.
And there's nothing wrong with developing on your own time. There's nothing wrong with waiting your turn when there's guys in front of you that have also waited their turn. And it doesn't mean that that's like that for everybody, because obviously like there's certain situations where you may be in a situation like Anton walked into a situation where there was 12 seniors off that Final Four team that were gone. Yeah. And there's tons of opportunity. You have more of an opportunity, but then there were other guys like Reese who played JV as a freshman and then played a quarter here and there varsity in certain scenarios. But here's the thing, and I say the same thing about Braden Shorter. When it was his time as a junior,
he was ready.
It was hungry. And it was, I am attacking the moment. I am taking full advantage of my opportunity. And it meant so much more because he knew the time he had to wait to get to that point.
Wow.
And I just think there's a lot of people, just because you're good or you think you can play at that next level or play up a level, doesn't mean that it's right for your development. And I just think, that's me just being honest as a coach and as somebody who watches a lot of basketball. Like, run your own race. Yeah. Like, stop worrying about so-and-so situation or whatever. Like, if you're going to play freshman, then play the best you can on freshman. And again, like, that's what I always loved about Zaid. And that's why when Marquette recruited him and Coach Smart came down and visited and knew that he was one of their guys, that dude had the smallest ego for being as talented as he was. He had the smallest ego of anybody. He just wanted to win and compete. That's all the dude ever wanted to do.
Wow.
And the thing is when the moment was time for him, like you said in that Ozark game, and you got those 3 minutes, you better make the most of those 3 minutes.
Dang right.
And he did. And it's like, you need to put us in a situation as coaches to make us look dumb, like by not having you out there. I think Greg Popovich used to say that. Greg Popovich used to say that. He goes, your job as a player, if you're as good as you say you are, then you should be, I should look stupid by not putting you out there because of, how talented or how good you are. So
losing sleep at night. Like, what am I, like, hard. You made it tough for me. You know what I'm saying? Yeah.
So I think that's huge with, and because we all want that instant gratification, or maybe we are really good as an eighth grader. Well, let me tell you, you're not playing eighth graders anymore. You're playing 18-year-old grown young adult men that have a lot more experience than you. And again, it may just not be the right moment right now. It doesn't mean that it's forever.
Yeah.
Just means right now you need to be where your feet are. Like you need to be right there working. And if you're as good as you say you are, it's going to speak for itself. Yeah. Like you don't need to say nothing. Mm-hmm. So, I think just taking that perspective and mentality, I think is huge for a lot of young players, especially when they're in good programs.
Yeah. Man, what they say, you want to take the escalator and the elevator instead of actually taking the stairs.
It could be like what I do in our, the video side of it, the media side of it. Because it seems like so many people put so much stock on freshmen and sophomores being varsity high level players already started. It's like, no, dog, like you said, run your race. It's okay. Everybody gonna get there differently. How you finish is the best way to go.
So much more important than how you started.
Because we see so many of these young guys. That's why we gonna be done now. I want to talk about, you got one that is blessed enough to be able to get into that varsity space early, but sometimes those dudes get up there too early, don't have the right development, don't have the right coach loving on them, and they kind of they just go 4 years and you like, man, that guy never really peaked.
No.
Yeah, he's plateaued.
Well, and some of that too comes from when you get that spot as a freshman, it's easy to relax. Yeah. What are you fighting for now? What are you working towards? You got it right there. So then it kind of like, and again, like I go back to Braden Shorter, that dude was the hungriest dude, like chomping at the bit to prove that he was worthy. Because that dude as a sophomore would have started for anybody in this area.
Wow.
Yeah.
Anybody. I mean, he would have been maybe some team's best player.
Yeah.
And here you are, a JV player and barely getting a sniff of varsity. But that dude's motor, his mentality, it helped him. And look at him now. He goes to Washburn, and guess what? You make the most of your opportunities as a freshman. You don't start, but you make the most of your opportunities. You're sixth man. Your second year as a sophomore, you lead the nation in three-pointers made for D2. You go to the Final Four for Division II on a fantastic team. Now you're at Murray State, and guess what? And that translates to that. So it's like, man, it's like there's so many ways to get to the top.
That's good,
and so I just think, if there's anybody out there and you're frustrated with that, not just from a coaching standpoint, but somebody who's seen it in a lot of different scenarios, run your own race.
Yeah.
Wherever you're at, just work. Just work. It doesn't matter.
Man, I'm gonna be 40 years old talking about what Braden Shorter did that night on that court.
Oh, dude, that was
man. I'm gonna be I'm like, well, y'all know where I was. You know him. He's a killer.
that was
he
that was
get
a
in
show,
the Hall of
man.
Fame
He
one day
was-
and kick
yeah.
a pool and stuff like that. Yeah,
he was red hot that night here,
Man. Well,
and a lot of nights.
I'll shut up now. I could talk to Coach all day. I'll shut
Same,
up.
man.
I had a couple more, but I'm gonna leave him alone.
No, you're fine. I don't
We
have
gotta
anything to
wipe
do,
the
so
family
just got to get to
alone.
the Chicago Bulls opening night at 7:00. So as long as I'm not home by 7.
I got a messy question, but I don't.
Go ahead.
You can skip it. You can skip it if you want.
Okay, I can. I'm going to plead in the fifth. So
The more we get into the modern day game, it seems like we are going to be possibly in an open enrollment across the board. How do you feel like? And obviously, it ain't nothing you got to navigate now. But what's your stance on that?
So here's what I've said for a long time. This was before NIL. Me and my dad used to talk about this when the NIL stuff was on the cusp of like being a thing in
It's going
college.
to trickle down.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So here's what I always said. To me, the people who, I don't know if they have it right, it's just their system. To me, the European model of development is trumping the American development system. Okay. And what I mean by that is this. When kids are 13, 14, whatever, like they're not playing high school basketball. They're not doing, and a lot of those European coaches say, we practice 10 times more than these kids play.
Yep.
But it starts with those early club teams. So it's kind of like, to me, it's like how club soccer is in the United States. Yeah. Like you have a lot of kids who may not play high school soccer, but they're traveling, playing club soccer throughout the year. I think what's eventually going to happen due to NIL and just the way it's all set up, I think at some point you're going to see a do-away with high school athletics in general, or maybe certain sports. Like football, I don't know that you could do that with because there's not like AAU, there's not
system for
club,
it.
there's not really a system in place for that. But I do think with something like basketball, what you're going to see is you're going to start to see more of a push for kids playing year-round club basketball. And basing it off a European model where kids will go to MoCan's facility and you're going to get coached by MoCan's coaches year round. You're going to travel the nation, and you're already seeing it with like your preps.
Yeah.
Like the preps have kind of already started that.
Yeah.
Now, again, that's not necessarily for everybody, but I think like in order, because to me, what the NIL and what college has now turned into is essentially the European model. It's all one-year deals. Yeah. Like a lot of people don't understand about the European basketball. It's a one-year contract for the majority of those guys. You do 1 year. If you do well, you get bumped up to Spanish League number 1. You do bad, you go down to Spanish League 3. But they're 1-year deals. Well, that's what college is anymore. They're 1-year deals. And it never was a 4-year contract, obviously. No, but now with the transfer portal and NIL, it's all 1-year deals. I mean, again, let's think about Braden Shorter. You perform at a high level at D2, you are now being the one moved up to D1. You're moving up a level. Well, what that's going to do is you're choking out your high school kids. Yeah. So, you don't, this is what I try to tell people when it comes to that. The route for most high school kids anymore is almost going to have to be D2 or below, because you now have to prove yourself at that D2 level. Are you worthy of playing at the Division I level? Because if you ask a college coach, I don't know what all the numbers are and statistics on it, but there's a college coach I heard talking about this. They said, I would rather recruit a transfer portal kid because the statistically, they are less likely to transfer again after they've already transferred once. Yeah. So not only are you not risking losing a kid the following year, but you're also getting a year-developed player. You're getting a 19 or a 20-year-old, or if it's a kid who's a junior, transferring, whatever, you're getting a kid who is knowledgeable of the level of play that you're needing to compete at. And so ultimately what happens is a lot of these guys don't want to recruit a high school kid because statistically speaking, there's a good chance they're leaving after that year, one way or another. So here you spend NIL money, time investing, you put in time getting this kid better just to transfer to a school in your conference to beat you later. Why would I do that? I'd rather recruit a D2 kid like a Shorter who I know what they can do. I know their ability. And guess what? Once they're here with us, he's probably not leaving after this year.
He's going to be grateful because you pulled him up from that Division II level. That's smart.
He's probably not leaving. Yeah. So why would you recruit a kid that it's a 50-50 chance they're not going to be with you?
Yeah.
And so I just think that that's going to be more of what you're going to start to see.
Okay.
The problem with that is the reality of your high school parents, players. It is not the system it was 10 years ago.
No.
Where it's a normal thing to recruit a high school kid and build your program from that. Now, there are some like Shaka Smart and guys who want to build and invest 4 years, but we're talking about 5 teams, a handful of teams. Most teams aren't doing that, So that's what I think. I don't know that it's going to be necessarily open enrollment. I think you're going to see the best of the best kids start going either the prep route because they think that's the route that's going to get them to D1s quicker because everybody's chasing the NIL bag. Or they're going to just go play club and focus on – I won't say what I've said. I'm not going to say it because I don't want to give anybody ideas if I'm the only one who's thinking about it. So I won't say what I've said to some people. But the homeschool thing is an interesting thing to me.
Really? Okay.
I've heard. I know. I think you're talking about. Be quiet about that.
I just think it's an interesting thing. I'll just say it. Who cares?
Okay.
So here's what I'd be very curious, and it'll take somebody bold to do it. But if you had the means to go move into a district, let's say you wanted to play at Ozark, you move into our district, you're going to homeschool your kid. That's fine. That's all fair game, right? That's under the new rules. Well, what's stopping you from training all day in basketball and taking launch classes through SPS, and you literally train like you would as a semi-pro professional athlete? You're just taking online classes. You're getting your credit. There's nothing that says you can't do that.
Nope.
And then you show up to practice and play basketball while you get a half, education because all you're focused on is the basketball route.
Hey, there's a couple schools doing that kind of right now
and
around in this area.
So, and that's why I was curious about the rule. And once I read the rule, like what would be like a cardinal ritter from like recruiting all these kids? Like, hey, as long as you're in a 30-mile radius of our school and then you're homeschooled, you can just play basketball all day and then show up and just be a mercenary for us and whatever. Yeah. But here's the thing that doesn't pertain to privates. So like privates can't take on homeschool. You have to be in that in that school district and whatever. So, but like at some point, somebody's probably going to try that.
Yeah.
And if there's success with that, it's like anything else. It's going to start a trickle down effect with other people. And then before long, a lot of your better players are now pursuing those situations. So it's not open enrollment, but it is to an extent. Yeah. And so I just think like within the next 10 years, like think about how much has changed in basketball, high school, college. Like in another 10 years, like I think it's going to look and reflect more like the European model where club is going to be
the end all be all for
that's going to be the thing. And then high school basketball is going to turn into like intramurals rec stuff. It's going to be the kids who don't have dreams of playing college, but they want to have, that's what I think has potential based on steps that have taken place already with NIL and the way the transfer portal works and the way high school kids are not getting recruited like they were. Something is going to change. And that is my takeaway based on what you see in Europe and how that's all situated and what the scene is kind of looking like in the U.S. So again, that's just more of my that's just my basketball mind. That's just what
we deep into it, so they're gonna have to really listen to hear that one. This is my last one. I promise I'm gonna shut up.
No, you're good.
I've heard something and I really don't like it on my end. Now you can tell me what side you fall on. I've heard it's not a high school coach's job to get a guy recruited. How do you feel about that? Because what we just talked about how powerful AAU is today. And we talk about like
social media.
We bring coaching into standpoint. He's a high school coach. His job description It's to build an organization. Depending on where you at, it's to win games. That's it.
I do think, though, if you have players in your program and it's their goal to play at the next level, that is part of your job, is to help those players achieve what they want to do in life, right? Like if a kid wanted a reference letter to get into Missouri State, I'm not going to tell him no because I'm your basketball coach. I'm going to say, yeah, send it to me and I'll do it. No different than, hey, I've got a recruiting visit coming up and the coach wants to talk to you, or whatever. I think where the AAU thing gets blended, again, being a guy who played club basketball, who played AAU, dad coached it, like very familiar with it. I think it's more accessible for college coaches because when they're out recruiting in the summer at these big events, it's a lot more accessible to access those guys, and there's less parameters with those people.
For sure.
Like with the high school guy, you may not be able, there may be certain times we can't talk to you. Like, we go up to an NBCA event and we're not supposed to talk to any of them.
Nope.
And so,
you can't.
Yeah. And so there are different parameters for different levels of coaching. I do think it's our job, if you have kids who are wanting to do that you need to be in the process of that. I think sometimes too, and again, this is not directed at any individual period.
Yeah.
I think sometimes too, it's easier to go to the AAU coach because a lot of times those club coaches want to keep you and they're going to tell that coach what you want to hear. That's a big difference. What I think a lot of people don't understand about a high school coach versus an AAU coach. An AAU coach is dependent on having good players and recruiting good players and keeping those good players with your system. And I know you coach, and every year, every year it is just a musical chair carousel of, well, we're bringing in 3 new kids. I lost these kids. These kids have been with me for 2 or 3 years. But the thing is, if you got a premier guy, that's going to attract coaches, and that's also going to attract other good players. So you don't want to lose those kids. Well, if you're pretty honest, or maybe too honest, and you're not stroking the ego, all of a sudden they want to go play for, if you're Mocan, well, now all of a sudden they're playing for, I'm going to go play for Brad Beal. I'm just going to go over there and play with them.
I've seen it,
because I'm not getting what I want here. And that's a slippery slope for those guys, because if you don't have the guys to compete, all of a sudden you drop down a level, you lose funding.
Yes.
So there's a lot more to that than people think. So I think for players, knowing that their coach is going to, be more again, not that they're being dishonest, but they're maybe less likely to say the real thing.
Yeah.
Whereas a high school coach, I want to keep my good players. I don't want to run you off, but I'm also not going to just lie because that's my word. Like if I lie and you go to that school and I ruin that relationship with that coach and I have another kid that should be recruited by them, well, I've just soiled my name, by lying or being dishonest, and I don't have that luxury. So I do think sometimes players want the AAU coach to be the connector because they're more willing to say all the good things, whereas a high school coach sees them every day.
Well, the stigma. The stigma is when they all say, well, my AAU coach, they let me do more.
Correct.
Or I get to do this, do that, but then my high school coach, I got to play within the system and do this. And it goes back to what you said earlier when you said that, and there's nothing wrong with AAU, but like what you said earlier, it's more accessible for a college coach to recruit you during AAU season, during the summer, because watch this. The college coaches don't have seasons going on right then.
Correct.
They don't have to, so when you're watching high school basketball season, it's running concurrent with AAU. I mean, it's running concurrent with their college season. So it's tougher for a college coach to say, all right, it's during my season. Let me go over here and go see him. Or I got to send over another coach. It's just easier to recruit at the grassroots level because you're recruiting them when your season's over. March is done. So then now you have April, May, June is obviously dead period. Then you have July, and you have maybe a tad bit of August. So it's easier for a college coach to go recruit for AAU.
Yeah. Well, and here's what a lot of people don't realize too, just like your average, whether it maybe be parent or whatever. And this is something, benefited from like my dad being a recruiter, being a coach and knowing how these things operate is that college coaches only get a certain amount of days to recruit, to go out and watch kids. So he always said this, and this is why, I went to a small school. I was a class 3 school. No college coaches were going to come watch me at a high school game ever. Because why would you go watch one kid and burn a recruiting day to go watch one kid when I can go to a tournament all day that counts as one day, and I just saw 500 kids play. I saw 5 kids on our recruiting board that we want to get. That's when they're getting the most bang for their buck.
That's good.
And a lot of people don't realize that. So like, well, they won't come watch us play in person. They won't come watch them play high school. Well, number one, like you said, it's a time thing. But the number two thing is they're not going to burn one day unless you're a kid that we have to get you. Like, we got to go watch this kid, like Shaka Smart come down to watch Zayd or an assistant. Like, no, we want you so bad. We are willing to burn a day to see you, because that's going to mean something to the kid. But for the majority, that's not going to happen. So you're going to have, and that's what my dad said, you need to play AAU at the highest level. That's the only way you're really going to have an opportunity to play in front of those coaches. Otherwise, it's going to be hard. Like, you're only really going to get seen by, local D2s, NAIAs, whatever that is.
That's good.
I think that's important for people to know too, just how that process works and being knowledgeable.
Yeah, I mean, because I brought it up because I've heard that before, and I don't like to hear that, but I understand I can't put myself in that high school coach's shoes, but like you said, like, come on, man, like, but I get it though, because at the end, how many programs we see where like they're successful, but a lot of them guys really don't go play college ball after, I get it. I mean, here's the, y'all stay on y'all side.
Yeah.
Can I ask one more? Yeah. You may pass this one up. Do you? Because we talked about AAU in high school a little bit. If you plead the fifth, we'll cut it out. That's fine. Do you think the high school coach and the AAU coach should be in communication?
Absolutely. I think. I mean,
okay.
I mean, my thought is, again, like
one.
here's what I think, and I might have a different take. I did not get into coaching for self-glory. I got into coaching personally because I had great coaches. And without those great coaches, I would not have been the person I became. I would have not been able to play college basketball. I would have not been able to get a degree. Like, there were so many things without those like great coaches that mentored me throughout those years. I would have never been in the situation. I mean, not even close. It would have been a mess. So I got into coaching because I want to help kids like me reach their goals and reach their potential, so that as they go in life, that they're successful and that they, are great people, great citizens. So if that's my mindset and you're playing for a certain AAU coach, you're playing for Stan, well, I'm not trying to work against the kid by not playing nice with Stan. We need to be a united front but here's the thing, I think sometimes egos get in the way and we want the credit. Well, I was the one who got him to this. Hey, the kid is the one who did the work. It's not like, now, was I a part of the process? Yeah, but so was a bunch of other people. So, like, to me, like, working alongside those coaches is so important because at the end of the day, it's about the kids. It's about them reaching their goals, not mine. Mine, those are done. Like, I'm in my career of what I want to be doing.
Yeah.
It's no longer about that. So that's my takeaway with that is I want what's best for the kid. And what I don't think is best for the kid is if your club coach and your high school coach are like, can't even work together. And I'm not saying they have to work together, but I think if there's opportunities like, for instance, like Kylan, if we're in the summertime and he's got to go to practice up at Run GMC, well, dude, I know you're playing basketball. Yeah. That's not like stepping on my toes. Like, go play basketball. We're playing basketball here too. Yeah. That's not taken away from us. That's not a slap in my face. Nope. It is what it is. So I just think taking the ego out of it and making it about the kid takes away a lot of that problem, in my opinion. How do you,
I guess I'm asking another one. How do you manage the role of, when I play with Stan, I'm a guard, right? I'm a guard. I feel like I'm tough. I can handle it. I can get to the rim, shoot off the dribble. I play with Stan. He let me do that. When I come play for you, coach, you only let me shoot off the ball. I can't handle the ball, things like that. How do you handle that? Which that don't fit in your system. So how do you handle that?
Yeah. So here's where I think club.
And I'm not talking about nobody particular.
And this is no slight on any club stuff. At the club level, you are not scouting and you are not running systems like you do at the high school level. Okay. You just don't have the practice time to do it. You don't have the time. You're going to keep it pretty basic. It's going to be pretty opened up. And again, you're playing club to get seen. Yeah. You're playing club to show your skill set in front of college coaches. Yeah. So it's a lot different. But like teams you're playing with, if you say box one, that team isn't doing what you guys were talking about with me. Box one's a cross screen with ball. Yep. They're just, everybody's guarding each other, and you're probably going to get an action for your player, or you're going to get them into space where you want them to, and it's going to work. The problem is you get in our area, that
they
stuff
scout.
doesn't always translate because guess what?
Especially
Coach
not this
McHenry is
area.
going to know what gum you're chewing.
Yeah.
And you're not just going to be able to do whatever you want. They're going to
speaking
take
facts.
they are going to take you out of everything you want to do.
Yeah.
And you've got to find solutions of how do I counteract what they're giving me to make the most out of this. And then when they shift again, now I get to that next, it's a chess match.
Yeah.
I think AAU is more about the showcase of skills. High school is more of a chess match because you're going to have scouting, you're going to have more film, you have more days to prepare, you get to practice every day. So there is variance between the two sides. And sometimes it is hard for kids to go from one season of just being used to have a bunch of space to dribble into. Versus now in high school, you play a team like Republic who's pack lining.
Oh my God.
Well, you're not going to have that opportunity.
Yeah, you ain't getting those
You got to
tries.
get shots differently. So it's understanding, and I think that goes back to like having a high IQ of the game and understanding that yes, it's basketball, but it's two different games. Just like when you go from high school to college, it's two different games.
Yeah.
You go from college to pros, it's another two different games. They're not the same. It's basketball, but it's different games.
Yeah.
And so I think if you understand that, then it's easier to buy into a system and understand the difference. But that would be
Yeah, that makes sense. Like you talked about, like you get 60 practices, right? So like Rogersville running that 1-3-1 60 times,
Oh, yeah. Every day, every
versus
day.
you going
Matchups
to
on,
KC
yeah.
for a six game weekend. They made some
they're
of the times
practicing
they,
out in the parking lot. They're using parking lines for a lane.
they first time they all got together. You know what I'm
And-
saying?
and- yeah, exactly. So
He's not lying.
I mean, that's
I see it all the
Yeah,
time.
I mean, you have people. There's a light pole. There's 2 lane lines, and let's set it up. Like I mean, seriously. So I mean, it's just different. It's a different game. So, but sometimes people think basketball is basketball. It's
Yeah,
not.
no.
There's levels to it. There's
Very-
different.
especially like you said in this area, dog.
Oh
like,
yeah, I
it's-
mean you're not the coaching is top tier, and you got to know your stuff. You got to know what they're gonna. I mean, it's just the way it is.
All right, I'm gonna push my mic away.
Yeah. Hey, we got everything, I think.
Yeah, I'll
State
push
of
my
Course
mic away.
podcast.
Only one plead the fifth, so I'll
I
take
know that was only one plead the fifth, man. We did pretty good today, man. Coach, thank you for having us. Go
There
ahead,
you
say
go.
it.
When I got to do it. When you play your other evangel people, you know what I'm saying? Valor people now, I guess we can say.
Yeah.
Mitch, Fielding, Jack. Is it like a little extra time
Oh, yeah,
talking
that
to
is a
y'all?
great
Like kind
one.
of
I
just be
didn't
low
think
key.
of that.
Like that's why I'm turning my mic on. Turn my mic on.
I'm trying. I mean, like we're all competitors, man. I mean, that's like we had really good college teams. Like, I mean, I played with Coach Fielding for 4 years. I played with Mitch for 3. We went to 4 national tournaments, won 2
Yeah.
conference championships. Like 4 years, 20 win. I mean, we are competitive. I mean, at the end of the day, but at the same time, like we're so close to like. I mean, it's kind of like bragging rights game, right? Like like you wanna win just to have it. But at the same time, like, just that, like, my thing is like, man, I just want my teams to compete against those.
I got you.
Like, I want them to be impressive. Like, man, you guys were tough to prepare for.
That's
You
love.
guys, like that's what I
feel
want
that.
those guys to think. I don't want them. It's not just about the win and the loss. Like, so yeah, we're all competitive, but I don't know. I can't say it on air, but those Coach McHenry and Coach Fielding, it started with Coach Joel Brown. So if they listen to this, they'll start laughing because they know exactly what we're talking about. But there's a little saying we have for each other when we go through the handshaking line. So
Okay.
I'll just leave it at that. A little secret. So, but it's been that way for years. When
Yeah.
Coach Brown was at Hillcrest, and it was so funny last year. Again, I'm not going to say what the wording is, but Coach Fielding, when we played at Hillcrest for our jamboree last year, he had one of his players pregame. He had it written on a piece of paper, and he came up and had the kid hand it to me. He goes, "Coach Fielding told me to hand it to you." And I opened it up and just started dying laughing. But anyways, I have that in my closet, and I look at it every day as a reminder. And he knows what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
So
That's a good one.
it's just like I said, I won't say what it is,
I
but
got you.
it's our little thing that we've always done over the years coaching against each
Well,
other.
from a fan perspective, it's really fun. I look forward to like every single one of those matchups. Like,
Yeah.
just to know obviously the relationship y'all have and like the programs y'all are building, and I just look forward because I know for y'all it got to be fun. You know
Yeah,
what I'm
it is,
saying?
man. I
Like,
mean, we're
yeah.
all doing what we love. I mean, we
Yeah.
really are. I mean, it's so crazy from those Evangel teams how many guys ended up being coaches
Man.
from those teams. I mean, you got Coach McHenry, Coach Fielding, myself. Cale Ramsey is at Republic. and was a head coach at, previously at Fairgrove. You got Zach Klein, who was on those teams, and he was a head coach, and he's not coaching anymore, but was. Josh Klein is still coaching. I'm missing another one in there.
Phil coached.
Yeah, Phil Wilson.
I forgot. Phil Will coached, and then Chad coached for a little bit as well. Dang.
So, I mean, there's just so many guys on those teams. Who I'm missing? Oh, Corey Tillery at Stratford. Trying to think. Spud Harbor at Raj.
Yeah, he's at
Joey Harbor's at Stratford. I'm trying to think who else. I feel like I'm missing somebody.
Man,
else.
that just means Coach Jay just got a darn coaching tree, don't he?
And you think, Coach Bland, it's crazy, but I think that was one of the reasons we had such a high IQ, but we just love the game, man. We just love the game. And so I think that's just, I think Coach Fielding has done a phenomenal job at Hillcrest. I try to tell him that all the time. You took that on when it was kind of in the dumps a little bit, and you have put your fingerprint and imprint on that sucker, and you can tell by the way his guys compete. And so it's just I root for those guys to an extent.
Until you play them.
And so we're all rooting for each other, but at the same time, there's a lot of mutual respect, and we love each other. We're brothers. We spent so much time together in college and then coaching together, and it's just man, those are bonds and moments you'll never forget. And so I'm just very appreciative of those things.
Well, I'm gonna shut up, Coach. Wish you the best of luck.
Thank you. Appreciate you guys.
Appreciate you having me.
Get us out of here, man. I'm gonna shut up.
Hey, Stay the Course podcast. God's work, not mine. Hard work, the only thing that work.
See y'all next time.